every time I took a step in that direction, people were telling me that you're going the wrong way, you're going to fail, or that's not going to work. You're just going to get sicker. That can't cure you. That's impossible. Like talking about nutrition, or I did some resonance therapy, which is like energy healing. And people were consistently telling me it's a waste of time or a waste of money or waste of resources. And not only was the worry in my head that it's not going to be enough, was that tough, but it was also going against what everybody around me was saying was a little hard. But I had Lauren, my now wife, and she was always in my corner. But for people that are struggling and wanting to change something, I think that the hardest thing to do is to get rid of the opinions of others, because that's tough.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started.
Oh my gosh, babe. Okay, so I find it's important to share interesting stories where there's an overcome of challenge, because I think it's so easy to look at people building businesses, building things, and think they have it all together. Their life must have been so easy. And not everyone shares with you their journey to get to where they are. And I'm not saying that they have to. Also, because sometimes people just don't want to repeat the story that they've already told. But like today's episode especially can maybe help you understand that pretty much most people create things based on the journey that got them there. And I find that some of the best inventions and the greatest things that I've, especially in my life that have happened, have all, if I look back, because hindsight's at 2020, I can see that it came from this version of a rock bottom. And I share this with you because I've met a few people in a rock bottom zone, and they just want it to be over. And I really love to say, if this is your rock bottom, do not wish it over. Do not wish it never happened, because some of the greatest things in your life are going to come from this, right? So today's guest is Jordan Dunin, founder of HatchPath, and it's a really cool company. I'll let him tell you all about it and what it's meant to do and what it's designed for. But also, if you are watching this on the YouTube version of it, you're going to see my face just like I get more and more stunned as he tells the story of what he overcame. And I think it's important for you to hear that, because I know that you're probably going through something right now, or you feel like you're on the other side of it and you're wondering why did that happen? What am I supposed to do next? Or maybe you forgot how far you've come. And maybe this episode can be a reminder that you're doing amazing things. And being it till you see it is not the easiest thing to do. And it doesn't mean that it's all shiny roses and rainbows. And sometimes you're being it till you see it, and then you go cry in your bed a little bit, because it's hard to become that version of you that you believe you are meant to be. I hope you get a lot out of today's episode. And here's Jordan Dunin. All right, Be It Babe. I'm so excited for our guest today. Jordan Dunin is here, and off camera, off recording, we've just realized that everything that looks like it's all together and organized, there's all these apps for everything. And really it just makes us all realize we can have very different lives and all need a different app to make sure the dogs are in the house, the babies are asleep. I'm just really impressed by you, Jordan, how organized you are. And I'm so excited to talk with you about coaching and your life to that. So can you tell everyone who you are and what you rock at?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And I'm Jordan. I guess my title is the founder of HatchPath, but I'm a dad. I'm a life coach. I just ran a half marathon, so I guess I'm a half marathoner. And most importantly, I guess I'm human. But that being said, my journey all started in 2016 when I suffered a traumatic brain injury. So I dove off a dock at a friend's cottage. So I'm from Canada, so up north, we have a bunch of lakes, and it's called Muskoka. For those of you that know it, it's a lot of fun. But I hit the bottom, and I actually compressed fractured my entire C-spine. I tore off my rectus capitis. I needed 15 staples in my scalp, and I suffered a traumatic brain injury. I was pretty embarrassed about it, so I didn't tell anybody really. And I skipped all the imaging. And at the time, I was working in finance, so all the numbers on the screen were getting smaller and smaller. I was popping Advil at the desk. this is before I became into health, obviously.
Oh my God.
And I was going to my final year of university, and I was always a Dean's List scholar. And my parents were in Africa at the time. And I remember texting them saying, hey, I quit school. And I'm in my fourth and final year of my business degree. And then I got home and I never felt depression before. And I had to watch all my friends graduate while I was sick at home. And then in 2017, I was actually diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And for people with Lyme, I know there's a lot, so I'm sure there's some listening. It typically becomes active after a trauma. So mine was physical. I think the emotional side actually triggered it more. But it can be through relationship trauma, childhood trauma, physical trauma. Your immunity gets suppressed so far that the virus or the bacteria, they think, actually becomes active. So I was diagnosed in 2017. Over a 4-year period, I was in a neck collar for 4 years. I lost 70 pounds. I was extremely depressed, in pain every day. I was told I had multiple surgeries I didn't want to have, including one that was to repair a ruptured artery in my sinus.
Oh my
anyways,
God. This is insane. Okay. Like if you are watching this on YouTube, my face is just like, okay, cause I'm just like, you hit your head and you're like trying to be cool. Like I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can't even believe the hospitals even let you be good and fine.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
Can't even believe it. And then you just try to live your life with like a compressed C-spine and like all this stuff. And it was basically like, so just because I want to understand this, do they think you already had the Lyme disease and the hit of the head triggered it to become active, or was it the emotional trauma afterwards? Like when did you catch Lyme? Do you know?
I think we have to back up like a decade.
Okay.
So like previously I was always getting sick in the winter. I was like becoming antibiotic resistant from the amount of antibiotics that I was prescribed. As a child, I think I was diagnosed with bronchitis really young. So every winter I was on like high doses of antibiotics. Then it just cycled into sinus infections, ear infections. And just every time I was sick, there was a drug for it. And that's Western medicine for you. There's a drug for everything. And then, okay, fast back forward to the incident. I was at school. I was kind of trying to take care of myself. I'd been like 3 years away living from home. And my lifestyle wasn't great. Like it was a lot of partying. It was a lot of not eating anything that has any nutritional value. And I think it was kind of burning the candles at both ends. And I don't know how I contracted the illness. A lot of people say that it's a tick. I'm more open to the fact that it can be airborne, sexually transmitted, you name it. I think that there's a number of ways that it can be contracted. I've never been, or I never knew that I was bitten by a tick if it was. But the running theory is that my trauma activated it. But I'd always had awkward blood panels. I'd always had like insane inflammation markers. I was always like,
so there's always something kind
tired.
of there, and they just weren't putting the pieces together because Lyme is very tricky. From what I understand, for even if you know you got bit by a tick, it's very tricky to diagnose. Okay,
absolutely.
So your parents are in Africa, and you're like quitting school, and then you end up having multiple surgeries, and like your life just changed. You went from being a young, active person to like, having multiple surgeries. Like that's really hard to go through.
Yeah. The first surgery was because I had an MRI on my head and they figured I did some damage. And they actually saw that my sinuses were filled with infection. And it was they're like, you cannot physically heal until you remove this infection. So the first surgery, I didn't know any better to listen to the doctors. They went in, they drilled out my entire like sinuses. And 4 weeks later, I actually ruptured an artery above my left eye.
Oh my God.
And it was like a faucet of too much information, but there's like a faucet of blood. And I spent the night in emerge, and then they thought they were gonna have to take my eye out to stop the bleeding.
Oh my God.
I went into surgery thinking that they were gonna take my eye out. Anyways, I ended up being able to go up through my nostril and cauterize the artery. And that was kind of the start of everything. Because at that time, my head was actually relatively okay, like depending on the trauma, but it was getting worse. So I started to see a chiropractor, and the chiropractor had the theory that they could crack my neck enough times that I would be healthy.
I'm so worried.
I don't know the theory behind that. But I saw this person for a long time. They're actually really intelligent. And I think I was just a poor case for them because the trauma to my neck was magnificent, if that's a word. And at the time, it felt really good to get my neck cracked. But then I found out that my neck became kind of hypermobile. And I think the actual word for that is unstable. And we didn't know that I had like compressed fractured my spine at that time either. So then we found out through like more imaging that I had an unstable spine and I'd lost the curvature. It'd become straight from the impact. And then, and then I tore my rectus capitis off the back of my head, which is the muscle that turns your head.
So you're just like, how old? So you're like 22, 23 at the time.
Yeah, I think I was 20-ish then. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so that's really like, it's a lot of different people trying to like help what is a complex situation. First of all, I'm looking at you. I obviously saw you get up, walk around, your head turns. Like, how did we get to like, because I feel like when your life stops because your body is no longer feels like your own, it can be really difficult to even think about a future. And so, I'm just kind of curious, like, what was that like to go through these surgeries, injuries, all this stuff, trauma, and also still like think about what you want to do in your life outside of that?
I was the most negative person I think you would ever meet in the world. I had to learn positivity from my now wife, Lauren. But at the time it was like, why me? Everybody's against me, kind of isolating myself, removing myself from friends that truly cared. But I was just so angry. I was so angry that they got to live their life and I didn't, and that the future looked really bad. It looked like I was going to be handicapped the rest of my life, that I would never be able to hold a job, that I'd have to depend on my parents for the foreseeable future. And I actually didn't see a future. That's the negative thing that I think a lot of people go through when they're sick, is that the concept of a future contains their illness or their injury.
Right.
And I had that condition where it's like, I couldn't envision a future without my injury and illness. But I think that I now know that's wrong. And if we can envision a future of whatever we want, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I love that you brought it up. It's like really when you are sick, whatever that illness or injury is, like there are so many unknowns. Like people listen to the podcast before know, like when I fractured my tibial plateau, which is nothing compared to what you went through. But as a person who like, you don't get to walk on two legs for the first time in your like knowing walking in life, right? I never broken anything before. So this is my first like, injury that like set me back in air quotes. And I remember being fine for a bit, like going, okay, we're going to heal. Saw the doctor, like saw the x-rays. Like I know enough about the body to know that it's going to be okay. And then also at some point, because you're not getting that dopamine hit from the workouts you're doing, you're not getting these like hormones that help you feel like a happy person, you do become negative. And I remember like just feeling like, what is the point? And I'm not a negative person. Like I was a positive person who like watched myself go into that negativity because I just didn't have the same routines and lifestyle that I had before. And even though I knew like in this many weeks, you can put weight on this leg, it was really hard for me to plan that many weeks ahead because I could not understand how I can't walk on my leg now and I'm supposed to be able to walk on my leg in that many weeks. Like you just can't, it's really hard to wrap your brain around. So obviously you get healed because you ran a half marathon recently. What was the journey from like going into positivity and then getting into the coaching world? Because if you were Mr. Negativity, the most negative person in the world, and I'm looking at the person who can't stop smiling, I'm just wondering how that happened.
Yeah. I don't think it was overnight. I think in hindsight's always 2020, and I definitely was the leading factor in my illness. And one of my favorite things that one of my coaches said to me was like, whatever your problem is, you are there. Or I'm paraphrasing, but we are the only constant in all of our problems. Yeah. And that can be both like demoralizing, but also liberating. And when I stopped outsourcing my happiness and I stopped outsourcing like the cure for my illness and whatever that search was, like a pill or a surgery, like it was never going to work. There's no cure. There's not a single person out there that could cure anything. And when I started to internalize, it actually became liberating rather than like an imprisonment. Yeah. So the positivity came slowly. At first it was fake. It was faking it and then crying in my bed.
I understand that to me, it's being it. Like you're trying to be a positive person and that's hard to do when you're not. No,
Yeah.
naturally, but there is science behind if you smile when you're feeling like shit. Eventually, if you just keep smiling, like your brain starts to go, oh, okay, we're smiling right now, and starts to turn things
Yeah.
around. So I love it. It's okay to cry in your bed after, but you're being positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to do stuff that went against everything. Like I went against my vision of the world. I think we all have like a blueprint of the world, like our perception or the way we see things. And I saw things that guy in that white lab coat is going to fix me. And when I met my wife, she opened me up to spirituality, which took years because that was like a hard thing for me to unfold as growing up, where that was kind of not something we did.
Yeah.
It was hard. So now it's something like a daily ritual of mine is like breath work and meditation. But that was hard. And seeing that I was the person that was going to get me better, not somebody else. And it was hard because every time I took a step in that direction, people were telling me that you're going the wrong way, you're going to fail. Or that's not going to work. You're just going to get sicker. That can't cure you. That's impossible. Like talking about nutrition, or I did some resonance therapy, which is like energy healing. And people were consistently telling me it's a waste of time or a waste of money or a waste of resources. And not only was the worry in my head that it's not going to be enough was that tough, but it was also going against what everybody around me was saying was a little hard. But I had Lauren, my now wife, and she was always in my corner. But for people that are struggling and wanting to change something, I think that the hardest thing to do is to get rid of the opinions of others, because that's tough.
No, you nailed it. I mean, like, because also it's like this deep fear of rejection, like when people don't, and also like just not being seen, right? And the reality is like the things that you tried before that were supposed to work weren't working, and it's not because they intentionally didn't want them to work. They thought that they had an answer for you. When you, as you're speaking this, like, you know how like the people say like everything is happening for you. And then you're just like, okay, but like, what about the bad things? Like, what about the actual, like legit terrible abuse, terrible injuries, people who like screwed up trying to help you and they screwed up even more? Like, what about that? Like, how is that for you? And I heard someone say like, we have responsibility for those things. And I was like, but then the way this person explained it was like, because we have the ability to respond. And what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is like, you took upon this ability of yourself to go, these things didn't work and I'm going to try this over here. And it is so hard to hear the people that you think care about you and love you go, that's not going to work. And you just want to go, what? Can you just like go along with it? But at the same time, like that's their own fears. That's their own, they have an ability to respond as well. And like, it's so cool. And it's really a great sign towards the inner strength of you when you go, nope, my ability to take this on and do this thing, because I believe it's going to work. That's my responsibility. And so I think it's just really, really cool. And I also think like we disregard some of the most amazing energetic works that are out there as like on this double woo spectrum. And look, I'm not going to say that like if I had a cancer diagnosis, I'm not going to go straight to the Western medicine. I'm going to be like, yeah, please, I'll take that. And I would like to see the Reiki person. And it doesn't have to be either or. It can be encompassing.
We can collaborate.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And so I think it's really interesting when people just want to like diss something just because it's different. And so it's what a strong muscle you had to create for yourself and being it and becoming this person that you are by like having to stand up against people who are doubting the decisions you're making. That's not easy to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a really good point. It's like we can be collaborative with our efforts on all fronts. And I think that the hardest thing for people to understand is that it's work. Like still to this day, my routine is not something that everybody would want to do. In order to stay healthy. And that, like I didn't train for a half marathon and I was able to run one. It was just to be able to see what my lifestyle is able to let me do. And it all comes down to what we do every single day. Like the things that we do daily become us. And I think for some reason, we're pushed in marketing and all this stuff. It's like okay, it took me years to become this sick. It took me, for me, 20 years to become this sick. I'm going to get well in 2 weeks, or this antibiotic
Yeah.
is going to cure me in two. Like the word cure is just so fickle. It's like something that it doesn't make sense to me,
Yeah.
a cure, because the only way we change is when we change.
Yeah.
And that's what, and like we're bridging into like a coaching conversation, but
Yeah.
I am not the person that was sick. That's a completely different identity. And I see people struggle with Lyme disease because they put something in their Instagram bio like chronic Lyme warrior. If you identify with an illness, how are you ever going to get past it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It may be your identity. It may be something that you inherently find value in. It may be a community you've built. That's even stronger reason to not remove yourself from that community. So I think that habit change and identity is something that really leads to success. And all comes down to what we do day to day. If we do something tomorrow different than today, like for me, I'm doing all this like PR training and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's uncomfortable. But the reason it's uncomfortable is because I've never done it. It's not because I'm not meant to do it.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of the times when we do change, and especially for me, it was like, I didn't like Reiki. It wasn't for me. No, it wasn't for me because I'd never done it before. I had to get uncomfortable with it. It got outside of my comfort zone. It doesn't mean that it's not for me. It just means that I just felt uncomfortable, and it's change.
Yeah. So I want to get into like, because you said something really important, like we are the things that we do every day. And like also if it took you this long to either get sick, or if you've been sick that long, or if you've been sedentary for whatever length of time, we just expect that we should be able to, you know, be energetic by 2 weeks of going to the gym. I think it's so true. I think like people want instant gratification. Hey, I see you. Like I love opening presents early. I love instant gratification, but the truth
language.
is, yes,
that's my love language. Gifts.
Yes, but like, yes, but I think like it is so true. Like becoming that person you want to be and like trying things out, it's gonna take time, and you have to have that patience and consistency. I do want to get into so like you go through this transformation, you get into coaching. And now you're also doing something where it's like bringing coaches together. So can you explain like what was the impetus? Like what was your reasoning for doing that? Like it was because you wanted to make other people feel better? Was it because you wanted to like what made you want to do the next thing instead of going back to business school?
Yeah, well, I did finish my degree. That was the first thing I did. I finished my business degree. I became a licensed personal trainer. But the journey was kind of not great. I was training people, and like people wanted aesthetic changes. They wanted it overnight, the XYZ. And then I heard about health coaching, and I realized that the person who helped me get better was essentially a health coach. They hooked me up with the right practitioner, the right nutritionist, introduced me to meditation, spirituality. And it was a holistic approach to healing that I could then take on my own. So like when we talk about the difference between coaching and therapy is typically focused on problems, where coaching is focused on results. You're like, okay, you started anywhere, we're going to get to this result. Whereas therapy is like, where did you start? And like, so the way that I look at coaching is it's a path. So like the name HatchPath is like birthing your new journey or taking the path, and a coach guides you along the way. But yeah, I became a certified health and life coach, and I realized that the industry is very much like
it's a Wild West.
And there's there's nothing wrong with real estate agents, but the way that people view them is like, oh, you earn income off of selling other people's things, you know, like all this snake oil stuff.
Yes.
And the same thing for health coaches. It's like there's 100,000 of them in the US, unregulated. You don't have to be certified to be a health coach. You can just coach on wellness and call yourself a health coach. And I wanted to make that more trustworthy for people. I found so much benefit in my journey with someone that cared about me, had empathy, had the answers, and guided me to success. And I wanted to help people weed out the people that weren't good, the people that were just not wanting to have a 9-to-5 and wanting to be a coach, or, you know, there's a lot of people in the industry that don't fit the mold, and it's unregulated.
Well, my industry is the Pilates industry is it's unregulated by government. There is an organization that tries to like, you know, have some version of a true certification, but like, let's just be real. In all industries, the use of certification is incorrectly used. Like certificates are great, but certifications, people like they think they get it from the person they pay the training to. And it's like, nope, that's actually not how it works. Like you don't go to, if you go to law school, even if it's Harvard Law, you are not a lawyer till you take a regulated exam outside of the person you paid for your education. So I agree with you. There's like a lot there's a lot. And what's unfortunate about that is that people, when they finally do take the leap to like do the thing and hire the health coach, if they get the, in air quotes, wrong one first, that's it. They think I'm not good enough, and they don't realize that like there's, they just didn't get the right one for them. And it really hurts my soul. So you got your actual trainings, your actual certificates, and you're like, wow, it's the Wild West. It's unregulated. And there's like a random bunch of people calling themselves this.
Yeah.
It's really hard for people to get help.
Yeah, that's the end. I wanted to simplify the path to help. And so what we do is we have a verification process that's relatively simple. Any coach that wants to join us, we're free to join. We work on a transaction basis, and we have the clients on our platform for you. We'll get into what that means. But how you join is you fill out a form. It includes a certification, what you do, who you coach, how many years, like XYZ, a regular form. And then you have a meeting with me. So I've had over 300 meetings with coaches.
Wow.
We look for empathy. The questions are literally, what do you do and how do you help? And we look like we already know that you're certified. So we look for empathy. We want to know that you're driven by empathy. And the best coaches coach on something that they've overcome. So for me, I've overcome Lyme disease. My path is coaching people to overcome Lyme disease. Some coaches coach on anxiety. Some coaches coach on weight loss. Some coaches coach on weight gain. Whatever it may be, we look to see if there's empathy there. And then all things go well, you're onboarded to our platform, and it's a true marketplace. So coaches offer their own programs. And the reason we do that is because we know that there's no one size fits all for health. And typical platforms have a system. So if you onboard to another health coaching platform, you may be put into a system that they have their coaches run. I wanted to be different in the sense that I know that there's no straight path to wellness. And I wanted to enable choice. So on our platform, on the client side, we now have close to 1,000 different programs to choose from on our platform, ranging from nutrition, fitness, chronic illness, mindfulness, and spirituality, and life and holistic health. Those are our 5 categories. And our coaches are all verified and certified. So when you come to our platform, it's a trusted environment. We've done the vetting for you, and all you have to do is click, pay, and attend. Our full ecosystem is contained, so we're HIPAA compliant, whatever that means.
Yes.
But that means that your information is safe. So you never have to leave to Zoom, Google Meet. You don't go through text chats or channels. We make sure that you have a really safe and easy experience with your coach.
That's amazing. I think that there's something that like legitimizes that and makes it feel less like, okay, I'm in this random Telegram chat with some weird person I've never met before. And I'm, they're going to put crystals all over my body. Like, like I think that there's something really nice about that. I also love it. It's kind of like a dating app for a health coach.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
What I love so much about what you're doing is like, you had this incredible, like, hit obstacle, wall that was clearly guiding you down the hallway to make sure that you could be on the path that you're on. And then instead of just like making your own health coaching thing, which you could have just done, like you could have just done your own thing and just done it for Lyme people and had a good time. You're like, how do I make it easier for everyone? Because I'm sure it would have been easier for you to have gone to one website to find this thing and, get a bunch of resources to work with rather than like literally Googling individual types of health coaches that could have been out there. That would be overwhelming, especially when you need it. I remember when when I was looking for an actual therapist, I Googled like therapist near me, and it's just like thousands of people. And you're like, I don't even know how to start. Like, do I just like eeny, meeny, miny, mo and call? And like, I think it's really cool what you've done and also the vetting process. What are you most excited about HatchPath now? Like, what are you hoping it does in like the next year or so?
I'm really excited for 2024 because we've been building forever. We've been building for 2 years, and we just made an incredible collaboration, or we have a contract with a charity that helps over 10,000 special ops veterans. So when I said that we have clients already on our platform looking for coaches, so we have a deal with them that they put money in the wallets of these veterans, families, and active military. So when they come on our platform, they can book with a coach that the charity pays for. So It's amazing for coaches because there's clients waiting for your help that you can make a true impact, and it's a community that we can really help. So our goal is twofold for them. We want to make sure that we have veteran coaches as well, so that the military can coach the military. And also it's amazing for any coach that wants to join our platform because you can make a true impact and grow your business. So the way we work is we also have a social proof metric. So you get ratings and reviews on our platform. It's how you scale. I guess we're used to it with Airbnb and Uber and all this stuff. But now we have real people awaiting your services. So this has been a year in the making. We've actually built a specific portal for them so they can attribute funds to people, approve people, and bring this to life. And as of 2 days ago, I was actually in Tampa, and we made it real. So starting next week, this is all happening.
Wow. So this is like, guys, we're recording this in the middle of January. Like this is kind of amazing. I love, someone who's like created stuff. It's people don't realize the amount of time and years that things have to take to come to fruition. They think just like, it's going to take 2 weeks to have the transformation of my life. I'm going to have a business idea and it's going to be up and running. Congratulations, Jordan. Like just what a transformation. And also like the way you're giving back, and not just to people who need help, but also to the people who can help them. It's really cool. We're going to take a brief break and we'll find out how people can find you, find HatchPath and your beit action items. All right, Jordan, if I'm a coach, how do I like connect with you to see if I can be on your platform? And if I'm a person who is in need of a place where people have been vetted, how do I do that?
It's the same answer. We're at www.hatchpath.io. So it's just HATCHPATH. We have a nice little page called Become a Coach. If you want to become a coach, you just hit that button. If you're looking for a coach, you can browse all of our programs, our coaches, our offerings. You don't need to create an account. You can simply check out with your name and email. And then once you do that, you can add the session to your calendar. So we do everything from payments, scheduling, video conferencing, ratings and reviews, and messaging all in one place. And it's really easy. So
that's
click,
so cool.
Pay, and attend.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right. And is there any social handles that they can go and follow you at?
Absolutely. So our business social is HatchPath Coach. That's Instagram. Mine is Jordan Dunin. And that's it. That's
amazing.
Really it.
This is so cool. I'm excited for people. I'll have to go back and listen because I don't remember the exact phrase you said, but there was an amazing sentence you said about like simplicity and getting help. And I was like, that's your like little mantra. Okay. Before I let you go, it's been incredible hearing your story and like to hear what you're doing in this world. But what can you leave us with action steps? So be it action items, bold, executable, intrinsic, or target steps people can take to be it till they see it. What do you have for us?
Envision a goal where you have everything that you want. And how does it feel? Feel that now. And then go after it. I think that the major thing that we do is, I heard a quote, I'm going to paraphrase it because it's not mine. But envision yourself living in a 500 square foot studio apartment in New York, putting Italian marble down, spending millions of dollars to renovate it. You're still in a 500 square foot apartment. Break down the walls, make it a mansion, make it whatever you want. I think the struggle with people is that we build our future in our box that we're in right now. Build the future however you want. Envision it, feel it, and go after it.
I think that's brilliant. I love that. Like also just explaining like it's really easy for us to envision our future with our current reality. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. So Jordan, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you've created. Congratulations on what you've done out there, because it's going to help health coaches really find their people and people find the right health coaches and help them be it till they see it. So thank you so much. And everyone, how are you going to use these tips in your life? What are you going to do next? Make sure you tag HatchPath, Jordan Dunin, and the Be It Pod. Let us know how this worked out for you. And until next time, be it till you see it.
That's all I've got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the Epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.